Hey, Brett.
How's it
How you
going,
doing?
Melissa?
It's great to see you. So, I am Dr. Melissa Kerr, and I am the co-founder of Brainsavvy, along with my partner Anna O'Connor. And we equip people and teams, especially athletes, with tools to control their stress and perform at their best. And I'm here today with an amazing young man, Brett Johnson. And Brett is a pro soccer player. And the way Brett and I and Anna met was through our app developers. We both have an app. Our app is called the Brainsavvy app, and Brett's app is called SwitchedOn Training. And our app developers were friends and said, "Oh my gosh, you guys need to connect. Your apps are so cool and so complementary of each other." So we did. So I'm here with Brett, and I wanted to brag a little bit about Brett for a moment, make him blush. So Brett has a degree in neuroscience, which means he's a brain nerd like we are,
Hmm.
um, from, and I want to make sure I say this right, Augustana. Did I get it
Bingo.
right?
Perfect.
Awesome.
Yep.
Augustana College. And like I mentioned before, he is a professional soccer player. He's been traveling the world. And Brett experienced, as you can imagine, a very, very high level of training as a professional soccer player traveling the world. And that soccer training from the best of the best coaches really improved his focus and his reaction time and his performance. And he wanted to translate this into something that would be cost effective and efficient for a great number of people because, like us, he is so, so passionate about helping athletes, fitness enthusiasts, um, military professionals, parents, teachers, everyday warriors live at their best. So, Brett, tell us a little bit about. So, give us a story about what it looked like to be a professional athlete traveling all over the world. I mean, most of us will never experience that. So, what was that like for you?
Yeah, well, it's not really as glamorous as it sounds. So the good thing about soccer is there's so many different tiers of professional soccer. So I was always on the lower tiers of professional soccer, and especially getting to that level, it was like a lot of different semi-pro teams and agencies you bounce around before you get there. But yeah, it really wasn't glamorous at all. It was just moving out on a whim to different teams. So I was in Florida for a little bit, and then I got an opportunity in England. So when I was in England, it was really just door to door going to teams. I had an agent there who helped me out, and sleeping wherever I could, just scrapping together all the money I could to buy groceries. And for instance, there it didn't work out, so I had another opportunity in Germany, and same thing, sleeping in garages, like recycling water bottles just to get these opportunities. But the entire time it's like, you're getting an opportunity to do what you love. So to me, it really didn't matter. And it was just really going through, keeping a positive attitude, just really knowing what your goal is and why you want to do it. And eventually, when you put in enough work and you just keep going at it, things fall into place for you. And that's kind of what happened for me.
Oh my gosh. So, our people, that is what an empowered mindset looks like. Not a stressed mindset, an empowered mindset. What an amazing perspective that you have on life. And I think many of us who have not played professionally sort of you don't know what you haven't experienced. So you see what you see on TV and you think, oh my gosh, I would love to do that, be that. And you don't realize, what's behind it, that it is not
Mm,
all glamorous.
yeah.
And we have certainly learned the same thing from our Division I athletes that we work with. You were obviously a Division I athlete as well. Oh, you
No,
weren't. So you
no.
went
So
from playing
yeah.
soccer in college to pro.
No, so it was, so I played at a D3 school. Augustana was a
Okay.
D3 college, and I did well. So like I set some records, and I was like the captain, and I had a good career there, but by no means was recruited in any way to play pro.
Wow.
And the only reason why I got my opportunity was because I kind of just was committed to trying to play pro because I knew I had like the desire to do it. So I gave myself 2 years right out of college, and I didn't have like, I didn't know about agents. I didn't know about how to get pro trials. So I went to a park every single day, and I was like, I know the only thing I can do is to continue to get better. So when I get an opportunity, then I'll be ready for it. And when I went
Wow.
to this park to train by myself every day, all of a sudden there was this goalkeeping coach there, and he ended up coming straight from Egypt where he played professional soccer, and he was an agent, and he didn't even speak English. So he like ran into me, and I was like, "Hey, can I train with you?" And just like worked me until I was like dead, and basically seeing like if I was going to keep going or if I was going to quit, or basically what my mindset was. And after one training session, he was like, basically scrapped together some words that meant I want to train again, and came back the next day. He brought a video camera and a translator, and he videotaped me and his translator talked to him, and he was like, yeah, this guy likes you, and he'll give you an opportunity with like an agency program around here. And then from there it was same thing, just training every day 3 to 4 hours, and just more opportunities leading to another. And yeah, it's been such a long road now. It all gets jumbled up, but that's basically how it all got started.
This is a movie. This is a movie. As I'm hearing you tell your story, I'm thinking, bend it like Brett, or bend it like Beckham, right? Save it like Brett. I don't know, but
Yeah, but it's so I get
he's
it.
from Egypt.
Yeah, it is like, it sounds pretty crazy, but the more I was into it, the more I realized there are so many stories like mine. Like in this entire agency program I was in, it was all stories like mine. It's like people, not necessarily like D3, like I was probably one of the only ones from like who really wasn't that good to start, because I wasn't. I just trained so much that I started getting better really late in my career, unfortunately, which is why I'm stressing to kids now. Like, if you start putting in the work early by yourselves, then you can, yeah, exactly.
You,
Um,
this is why your message is so inspiring. We have kids now that think that we're basically trying to peak them at 14.
mm,
By very young ages, they are burning out because of, they're losing their love,
yeah.
for the sport, because
Hmm.
there's no downtime. They put so much pressure on themselves.
Mm,
Um, and I love that you had this long haul view, and you just kept doing what you loved with this amazing work ethic that you have. And you didn't have to be the best on your club team. You didn't have to be the best in high school. You didn't have to be the best, you know, on your D3 team. You obviously were amazing on that team with the records that you set, but you had this dream and you just kept going.
yeah.
And I mean, that is just resilience in a nutshell. It's
Hmm.
resilience in a nutshell.
It's
So
it's almost
I
it's almost
feel
like a gift.
honored.
It's almost like a gift and a curse, because I could see you're the
I
same
get
exact
that.
way with when you're telling me earlier about everything you have going on with your kids, your family, your job, and doing the business thing. Like, you got it too, where when you see something you really believe in, like you almost just get obsessive about it. Like, it doesn't even feel like work because you just do it so much and you want it so bad. And that's kind of how I got about it. Because growing up, I was playing baseball, basketball, soccer. I was playing all these sports, right? And
Right.
then once I finally realized I really wanted to be serious about soccer, then I really started to develop that mindset where it's like, I understand how much I'm gonna have to sacrifice now, which like, you know, I missed weddings, funerals, so much stuff back home just
Wow.
from living overseas. But you don't even like worry about it at the time because like you want it that bad and you know you're doing it for a good reason. Like same with our apps. We know we're doing them for a good reason, which is why we're so passionate about them.
Right.
And then the other thing, it was just the support system I had. So my family supported me so much. My friends supported me so much. And even though like you can't communicate all the time, even with what we're going through now, you can't communicate face to face with people. Still, just knowing those people support you is something that like that's what really gets you through the down times.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you get it. You get life.
Mm,
I'm always so inspired by young people now that just, they're just so much, they're very open to learning and growing and being patient in that process.
mm-hmm.
Have you always been as patient as you are, you know, in the bigger picture as you appear
Yeah,
to be?
I don't know. I don't feel patient at all. That's my
Really?
thing. Is yeah, I work so like the way that like sometimes I overwork. That's probably my biggest flaw is I overwork because I think if I put in 8 hours a day, especially playing soccer, I'd be like, if I put in 6 hours a day of training, right? And not like making it like 2 hours here, break 2 hours here. If I did 6 hours straight, that's 6 hours, then that's gonna help me get there. But I realized later on, a week or two would go by and I would have chronic finger sprains or my ankles would be
Right.
terrible and I'd be overworking myself. So in that sense, I wasn't. I was always very like I was really hungry, really driven. But I think long term I did kind of still see like the long term vision. So I guess that did give me some patience where I was like, okay, I know like recovery is important. I know all these other aspects of training are important. So once I started to adopt that philosophy and like you said, just keep that long term vision in and be patient, I started to grow it a little bit more. I'm getting better every day, I think, with that.
And that's the point, right? Just to get a little better every day. I completely get what you're talking about in terms of training. So, what feels like a lifetime ago now, I played D1 basketball.
Oh,
Like sporty. I was sporty spice. So, any sport basically with a ball. And then out of high school, I actually also to be stronger in playing basketball. I started doing triathlons. One of my goals early on was to do Ironman, which I did when I was like 23, I think. I mean,
wow.
it feels like a lifetime ago. But from one of the things I learned, because I had some really good mentors and coaches throughout that period, was that you are supposed to really, from a physical training perspective, do the least amount of work to get the desired outcome.
Mm,
Eventually, I started coaching endurance athletes, runners, cyclists, and triathletes. And that was a principle that I always had to um, hit home with them because, again, athletes will push themselves,
mm-hmm.
you know, to the limit until they break. And what I've also learned as an older athlete now is, here is your zone of adaptation when you're young. So you can do a lot of stupid crap in here and you
Mm-hmm.
don't pop out and get injured, right?
Right.
But as you get older, this is what
Yep.
happens to
Yep.
it, right? It
Exactly.
goes like this. And it's so easy now to pop out, and then it's harder to get back in.
Right.
And so I feel like our younger generation now is getting a lot wiser about that. And
Mhm.
I think that your app also can really help with some of that understanding. Like, it's not about quantity, it is about quality for
Well,
sure.
that's kinda like what both of us are doing too, where you essentially you wanna make the most out of every second that you spend training. And then
Yes.
you wanna work on, like, the different aspects that you can without actually physically tasking your body. So, for me, it's, incorporating your brain and your body in training, so you don't have to do as much separately, you combine them for a more holistic approach in order to
Right.
like make it the most effective way to get the most bang for your buck, basically. So this time that you're spending, is actually going to transfer over. And then there's also this mental aspect, like the psychological, the mindset, and that's what you guys are doing, where you're providing a framework for people to not have to like go through all these different books, because there's so many different ways you can learn how to do this. You're making it in like a condensed approach where people can see results and track progress, which is like, these are the things that we probably wish we would have had more back in our day, but it's good to give back to people now that we know, and everything's going to keep evolving regardless.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love how you said that. Is it okay if we use that? I think
For
we're gonna
sure,
put
for
you
sure.
right,
Yeah.
right on the front of our website and have
Yeah,
you
there
say
you
what you
go.
said. Because I think
Exactly.
that's the best little promo in a nutshell that I have heard. I love it.
I
So
got
let's
you.
talk about your amazing app,
Mm.
Switched On Training, and your big three: perceive, decide, and react. Some of the analytics, response time, accuracy. So as a baller, I went and I saw your baller, and you
Mm.
talk about the accuracy analytic and whether it's a make or a miss. So I was like, oh my God, I'm so going to do that.
Right.
And then also how the effort tracker can improve self-awareness. And then your built-in weekly summary and your workout history.
Hmm.
And then also I have a request on top of all that, which is, can you do a little video for our lax people?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah. We
So
have we
I,
have a
I
ton
saw
of lax
hoops,
followers.
and of course, I get giddy when I even think about basketball, let alone seeing someone shoot or hearing it bounce.
Mm.
Um, Certainly saw soccer, which we're all
Hmm.
passionate about as well. And Anna has done so much work with the Maryland men's lacrosse team. She's, it's just been an amazing, mutually beneficial experience.
Mm.
And she is now writing for Inside Lacrosse as the brain lady, which I just love. And so we would be able to share this as a resource, to that world as well.
Awesome.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Well, I guess just to start with like the concept, um, I kind of came up with it because I never really had a whole lot of like resources when I was younger. So I had to do a ton of training by myself. And as I was training by myself, I realized like there's this aspect to it, and kind of like my neuroscience, it kind of all stuck together, where everything you do is predetermined. So this is good when you're first learning a skill, because obviously movement mechanics, like if you're cutting and your knee placement isn't right and your glute activation isn't right, you're going to have injuries. You're not going to get the most out of it. But once you get like the basic fundamentals down, then you need things that more replicate actual games. And an individual train, you can't really replicate this. And when I was in Germany, that's where I kind of got it started from, because they're very advanced in terms of their sports science. At least I think, and if you go there, you probably think
Agreed.
the same. Um, they used to hire these coaches who would literally just hold colored cones behind their back or give visual cues or verbal cues. And I was like, that's interesting from a neuroscience perspective, because that neurological functioning is the same thing that's involved with these like reaction time, decision making, focus, all these things that are so important, and that they're showing, like research is showing, is what separates these elite athletes from like the novices.
Wow.
So I was like, I want to find a way to get this type of training using just your phone. So people around the world, like people in Africa who can't afford these trainers, or just like people in the US who are trainers are super expensive, can get like this high quality training using just their phone. And that's kind of when I came up with the idea, if I could just make these cues available, like colors, numbers, arrows, anything that you can perceive, and then process it to make a decision, and then actually use your physical movements to react to, maybe we can give people around the world a more efficient training experience that replicates games.
And it's fun. I mean, it's
Yeah, yeah,
it's
and it's engaging.
absolutely fun.
That's really the kicker that kind of got me, where when I was putting it out there, like the science made sense, but once I found out people were enjoyed it, I'm like, okay, this is something that people are really gonna like, just because like it's engaging. Like same thing for fitness. People who use it for fitness, you can you can do all these movements normally, right? But mentally, you have these thoughts that are like, oh, this sucks. I don't want to do this. You know, where with this, it's literally forcing you to keep your mind engaged on something external that's telling you what to do. So, like, if you had a coach there who's telling you what to do all the time, you really don't have the brain power because you only focus on one thing at a time
Right.
to like think these negative thoughts. You're more just listening and doing what they say.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another aspect to it where I was like, this can really be useful in a ton of different, and with the science behind like brain and body training. Like I don't know, have you seen like what the whole dual task training methodology
Mm-hmm.
and what that's showing? Yeah. So that's really interesting as well, where um like essentially just so the listeners kind of know, they found that like people have heard that running and physical exercise is good for your brain through like
Right.
neuroplasticity, neurogenesis.
Right.
And then they found out that these brain games like luminosity or whatever these like little
Right.
games are also induce neuroplasticity. And now they're showing that if you combine the two, I think the study was like someone cycling while doing like some brain task, math problems or something like that. It induces neuroplasticity better than doing either of them separately, which is why it's like,
It's brilliant,
yeah,
and it
and
makes sense.
makes perfect sense. So I was like, if we could do this using your phone as well, there's just so many different areas it can go into that I'm like, this can really help a ton of people. So that's the reason why, you know, I was not signed at the moment, but I was still going on trials. I was getting offers, and I was like, I can't do it because I know, like I said, when I get passionate about something, I'm just obsessive over it. So I don't really try to do a bunch of things at once. I pick one thing and I go all into it. And I was like, this has got to be it. You know, I've got to do this and I got to do it now. So,
So congratulations, you do not have ADHD.
but I do, I do. That's the thing.
Actually, what's funny is I knew you were going to say that because my partner, I was cracking a joke because my partner um, is ADHD and a genius, and our ADHD folks in the world, or just ADD, are our geniuses. And I am lucky enough to be able to understand, how those brains work, and try. I love those brains because they're geniuses. So
Mm.
um,
Yeah, you kind of get that
you can
ability
hyper
to,
focus,
that's exactly what I was gonna say. You can hyper
right?
focus and you also like, I mean, for me personally, I've created like habits and systems that really help me where even if I get out of some of these habits, like I will see myself, you know, it happens all the time where I start doing way too much at once. We kind of talked about this earlier. And
Right.
but developing those was something that was huge for me to really start focusing and really focusing on one thing at a time. Because I knew once I did that, I was good at it. Like I can nail something if I focus on one thing at a time. But when I try to juggle a bunch of things, which some people are good at, which is great for them, but I knew me personally, I just couldn't work like that.
So, I mean, talk about the most important self-awareness you could have. You understand how your unique brain works, and you're harnessing it to hyper focus and get things done and get a product out there and get people results. I mean, that's part of your story,
Mm,
behind all this, your own unique brain and what you've learned about it, and how that training that you experienced in Germany inspired you to create something like this for people, is just absolutely remarkable. Um, so, you know, tell our readers, like, give a little promo about the app to inspire them to go to it as soon as they see this video, or watchers, I said readers, as soon as they see
mm.
this video, like, I want to get this thing right away. I'm the least technological person, I think, on the planet. And I went to it. I watched all the YouTube videos. It made complete sense to me. Um, uh, and it was it was user friendly. So if I can do it and figure it out, I think anybody can. So that's my promo for it.
Yeah, it's so like the product itself needs a lot of work. I luckily came across a new developer who's a potential co-founder coming up who's doing an amazing job. So we'll probably have a lot cool new features and a lot better user interface, user experience. But um, essentially, if you're an athlete who has to do training by yourself, or if you're a coach who wants to help their athletes train by themselves, or I've seen so many people use it in a team environment, just to use an external stimulus to improve, like to give cognitive complexity to your physical training.
Oh,
So
oh,
yeah.
that was
So
delicious. I'm writing that down, people. Make sure you write it down.
that's actually something that when I ran this by one of my neuroscience professors, that's what he used for it. And that's where he saw it was most interesting, because like just adding this complexity to your physical movements gives these cognitive skills that we see is so important. So, I mean, if you're looking for a way to get that without spending, thousands of dollars on this expensive equipment, you can just pull out your phone and use it. I mean, it's completely free right now. And I think we're going to keep a free version out there just so people like around the world who don't have a lot
That's
can continue to
awesome.
use it. Yeah, but hopefully we'll have a lot more features for, we have a lot of cool things in the works to make it a lot better, but I don't want to speak too soon because it's always difficult to see what can actually work and what can't, but I'm very confident that we'll have a lot better product coming out soon as well.
I believe you. And I tell you what, should we start GoFundMe pages together?
Uh,
How about
yeah,
GoFundMe? Can we do GoFundMe app pages? Let's start that.
I was thinking of doing like a Kickstarter and a couple different like platforms for that, because there are a lot of people who are already interested in this kind of stuff. So it's not like it's a hard sell to people.
Not
It
at
makes
all.
so much sense, and there's so much research. Well, for you, I think there's a lot more research than there is for what I'm doing at the moment. But it's emerging, and there's always going to
Right.
need to be more research in whatever you do. At least from my perspective, I know like a lot of people can read one piece of research and it just makes sense and they go with it, but like in perspective you want an abundance of it, and so you can see trends and you're like, okay, this makes sense, like this practically makes sense and we can move forward with it. And yeah.
So what are your go-tos for research?
There's this website that's pretty good. It's called Google. I use that one a lot. No, actually, I mean, Google Scholar, they'll give you a lot of good stuff. A lot of it you have to pay for, which kind of sucks. If you're at a university, you're in huge luck, and take advantage of that, because I know my university membership kind of like expired after I graduated, so I couldn't get their free articles. However, I can't remember how they did that, but yeah, if you're in school, you can always use those platforms. But other than that, I usually just go on Google Scholar and see what they have for free. If it's really enticing, like if I know I need to, like it's something that's super relevant, I will pay for it. But I'm trying to save every penny I have right now, so to put into the app. So I just try to get everything I can for free just from Google.
Well, I think it's amazing, and I am actually already giddy. We have we have this beautiful sunny day here. How's your weather looking there?
It's okay. I mean, it's sunny, but it's cold out. It's probably like 40s, 50s.
Woo! We got
Yeah.
a 60-degree day here in
Oh,
Maryland, and
perfect.
it's sunny. And I'm like, I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take my phone outside, and I'm gonna set up a little custom plank training thing to do after my run.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that. Now, you said that people are sending you videos left and right. Um, how are they? So they're using two phones, right? They're doing,
Yeah.
yeah. So, okay, so maybe I can talk my teens into doing this with me, because I'd love to do a video and and share it with you. You'll at least probably laugh or get a kick out of it.
Yeah, that's really the difficult part about it though, is that you need two phones, right? Or like me, I have a GoPro, which is good because I want to take like these quality videos to put on the website and stuff like that. But we want to make it so, like a feature we're looking about implementing is having it enable the front facing camera so it can videotape as you're doing the workout. and then you can have video right there, which would be awesome, not only for like social sharing and stuff like that, but when you videotape yourself doing something, you understand your technique, because in your head, sometimes you feel like you look a certain way, and then you see yourself do it. You're like, oh wow, that is not very good. And you can see just it's such a useful tool for improving your performance and comparing it to like you could take a video of you doing a drill and then compare it to someone like a pro online and be like, wow, now I see why it's not working as well in games, or why I'm not quick enough. So that's one of the features that we're thinking about getting out as soon as we can, really.
Yeah, I always say to people, the data doesn't lie, you know,
Yeah.
and the data of a video is worth, it's priceless. And our athletes right now could be using this and even sharing their video footage with coaches right now and say,
Hmm.
hey, look what I'm working on, how do I get a little better? You know, whatever. I just think it can become not such an interactive tool, really gluing um, the sports world together, coaches, athletes, staff, even parents and
Hmm.
families, that are doing these fun challenges. So I just think that there's just so many neat things I can see this app doing for people. And I am all over it. So Brett, anything else you want to say? Actually, the lacrosse thing, will you do a lacrosse one for us?
Yeah, yeah, we
Okay.
have a ton. We have a ton of lacrosse drills on our Instagram page right now. I've,
Oh, okay.
yeah, we have an MLL player that I'm pretty close friends with now, Martin Bowes, I think Bowes, Bowes. So he has a page as well. Who he has a ton of lacrosse drills, and he does a lot of switched on training as well. But we have a couple of his drills, and we're hoping to do more together in the future and get some programs into the app, so lacrosse players and all athletes for whatever sport they're in, they could just go into the app, see their drill that like a high level player has created or coached,
Right.
and then actually just click start, so they have some guidance as well.
It makes it so easy when you see, I know that's how my brain works. If I see somebody else doing something, it takes away the overwhelm of having to create, something out of the gate and then
Right.
create my own custom program. And then, as you do that more often, then you spin off into maybe some of the things that you want to work on personally. And, I think that's sort of, at least for me personally, it would make me feel more creative over time if I could have a template like that, try that on, and then let that spur new ideas and new ways of training that work better for me. Um, so that would be awesome. And I'm sorry I missed that. So I will go to your YouTube and see if I can find
I think
Martin.
we only have those ones on Instagram, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll check those out on Instagram. That's perfect. Um, so, anything else to add? We've been talking. So,
Yeah.
guys, we've actually been talking for what, an hour and a half?
Yeah.
Yeah. And nerds can just go. I mean,
Hmm.
it just, you just get so juiced up about the brain. So, so fortunately though, this tape isn't that long, right?
Yeah, yeah, we had some time to nerd out before this.
We did. So I am so grateful to have met you, to learn about your app, to support you, to do some cool things together to help make the world better. And thank you for today.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. This was anytime we get to talk, we can talk anytime. We talk all day, so it's always a pleasure. And yeah, anything we can do to provide some value to the audience as well is good. I'll have to hop on one and do them for you another time so we could talk more about your app and everything you're doing, because yeah, there's definitely a lot of synergy between the two and the ways that you can improve. There's so many different areas of the brain and the mind that need to be improved. And while mine's one aspect of it, you also have a very different and important one. So we'll definitely have to hop on one later and talk more about what you're doing as well.
That sounds perfect. Thank
Cool.
you, Brett. Have an
Thank you,
awesome
Melissa.
rest of the day.
You too.
Okay, take good care.